Hey everyone, if you're diving into Athena Blood Twins, you already know this game isn't just about luck, it's about smart choices, especially when it comes to your heroes. With only 3 deploy slots, picking the right heroes can totally make or break your run. So if you want to breeze through the game and crush every challenge, you gotta min-max like a pro. Don't worry, I've got you covered. In this video, we're breaking down the ultimate hero tier list to help you figure out who's worth investing in and who you might want to skip. Whether you're aiming to build an unstoppable team or just want some solid advice on where to put your resources, stick around because we're about to make hero selection way easier and way more fun. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking heroes in Athena Blood Twins. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Heracles and Siren. Alright, let's be real for a second. Sometimes in Athena Blood Twins, you gotta ask yourself, is this hero really worth the hype or am I just wasting my summons? Today, we're diving into the C tier realm where things get a little meh. First up, we have Heracles. Now, don't get me wrong, she's got some neat crowd control tricks with her area of effect stuns and slows. And hey, if you manage to get her all the way to 10 stars, she unlocks a skill that applies a slow effect. Pretty slick, right? But here's the catch. Her damage per second, or DPS, is kind of underwhelming for a super rare hero, especially when you compare her to others who can dish out way more hurt while still controlling the battlefield. Speaking of control, Heracles' slow effect is a bit of a double-edged sword. It sounds cool on paper, slowing enemies down, giving your team some breathing room. But slow is one of those crowd control effects that just doesn't pack a punch. It's like trying to stop a charging bull by whispering, "Hey, maybe slow down a little." Yeah, it helps a bit, but it's not going to save the day. Plus, if you're looking for the best crowd control heroes, there are definitely better options out there that stun, freeze, or outright lock down enemies more effectively. Now let's slide over to Siren. She tries to bring something to the table with a movement speed reducing skill that also unlocks at 10 stars, which can be kind of annoying for your foes. On top of that, she provides shields and some damage reduction to her team, which sounds like a pretty sweet support setup. However, here's where the trouble starts. She's considered one of the worst support super rare heroes in the game. Her shields are big, sure, but the sustain they provide isn't all that necessary, especially when you can stack raw damage instead and just melt your enemies faster. At the end of the day, Siren's shield and slow combo feels a bit like putting a band-aid on a sinking ship. You're better off just focusing on heroes who can pump out more damage or bring stronger, more impactful crowd control effects. So yeah, if you pull either Heracles or Siren from your summons, don't feel too bad. They're not the worst, but definitely not the best. Just think of them as the meh squad of Athena Blood Twins hanging out in C tier, trying their best but not really stealing the spotlight. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Ifrit, Hanuman, the Magic Monkey, Joan of Arc, Pandora, Gilgamesh, and Brunhild. Alright, let's talk about some of those heroes that don't quite make the top tier, but still deserve a spot in your lineup. Welcome to the land of B tier heroes in Athena Blood Twins. They might not be stealing the spotlight or breaking any records, but hey, they've got their moments, and sometimes that's all you need to shake things up a bit. First up, we've got Ifrit. Now, Ifrit is that friend who's absolutely siege when you're facing a single enemy. Her ultimate hits like a truck, and her damage over time attack, which you unlock when you star her up to 10, is borderline unfair. But don't get too excited if you're dealing with hordes of mobs, because Ifrit's area of effect damage is, let's just say, not her strong suit. Also, she doesn't bring any crowd control or team buffs, so if you want a hero who carries utility, she's not your gal. Plus, there are better single target damage dealers out there who also handle groups way better. Then there's Hanuman, the Magic Monkey. This guy is the king of hitting many enemies at once. His ultimate and his 10-star skill both pack huge area damage, and the ultimate even does more damage the lower the enemy's health gets, which is pretty neat for finishing off fights. But, and this is a big but, if you're trying to bring him against bosses, he kinda falls flat compared to the top damage dealers. Also, he's not exactly a support or control hero, he's just there to smash stuff, no fancy tricks. Joan of Arc is next, and if you're into support heroes who really make a difference in your battles, Joan's a solid choice. She's especially good at lowering the enemy's attack with her 10-star skill, and her ultimate can heal your team and remove nasty debuffs. The downside, her damage per second is laughably low, so don't expect her to carry your team on the damage front. She's all about that support life. Moving on to Pandora, she's a bit of a sleeper pick. Once you get her to 10 stars, she slows down enemies in a big lasting area of effect, which is super useful when you're up against swarms. Her ultimate also clears mobs pretty well. But before you max her out, she doesn't bring any crowd control, and her single target damage is honestly pretty weak. She's often considered one of the worst super rare damage dealers and crowd controllers in the game, so handle with care. Gilgamesh is an interesting one. His ultimate is fantastic for dealing with weak mobs, and when you star him up to 10, he gains a nice area attack. However, when it comes to bosses, he really struggles. His damage against bosses is one of the worst among the super rare damage dealers, so if you're heading into endgame content, you might want to think twice before relying on him. Lastly, let's chat about Brunhild. If crowd control is your jam, she's your gal. She can stun enemies with her ultimate and clear minions efficiently, and her 10-star skill gives you a 3-second stun, which can be clutch in tight fights, but don't expect her to deal much damage. Her single target damage is pretty weak, and aside from her stun, she doesn't offer much else to your team. So there you have it, some solid B-tier heroes who each bring a little something to the table in Athena Blood Twins. They might not be the stars of the show, but with the right strategy, they can definitely pull their weight. Sometimes it's not about being the best, just about being useful enough to keep the game interesting. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Devil, Athena, Saladin, Dragon of Venom, Dragon of Fire, Dragon of Frost, and Queen of Egypt. Alright, buckle up because we're diving into some of the absolute best heroes you can get your hands on in Athena Blood Twins. These are the legends who don't just walk the battlefield, they stomp, charm, freeze, and burn their way to glory. Let's start with Devil Athena. This lady is basically your go-to damage dealer, rocking both amazing area of effect damage and solid single target punches. She also applies a nice damage over time effect, which means your enemies keep melting even after she's done with them. Oh, and when you max her out at 10 stars, she can charm enemies like a boss, making them fight on your side for a bit. Pretty sweet, right? The only catch is, if you're hunting down big bosses in the late game, there are other heroes who might outshine her single target damage. Next up, say hello to Saladin, the ultimate crowd control wizard of Athena Blood Twins. This guy doesn't just mess with enemy accuracy, he's like a one-man stun machine, with a long-lasting stun on his ultimate skill that can basically put the enemy team to sleep. Plus, his ultimate hits multiple enemies with solid damage, so he's not just a control freak, he can pack a punch too. The downside, when it comes to boss fights, Saladin's damage isn't exactly going to blow you away. But hey, controlling the field is often just as important as dealing damage, right? Now, let's talk about the trio that has become legendary among fans. The Dragons. First, Dragon of Venom is an absolute nightmare for enemies, applying anti-heal and vulnerability effects so those big bad bosses can't just heal up like nothing happened. His area of effect damage is fantastic, both in his ultimate and his 10-star skill. Plus, when you team him up with Dragon of Frost and Dragon of Fire, they form a synergy that's basically like a triple threat in a crime movie. However, if you're flying solo with Dragon of Venom, he might feel a bit underwhelming because his single target damage doesn't quite match the heavy hitters, and without Dragon of Fire, his power takes a hit. Speaking of Dragon of Fire, this guy is a furnace on legs. He excels at dealing massive area of effect damage, setting enemies ablaze with burn effects that get even stronger if they're frozen. Hello, Dragon of Frost synergy. His ultimate and 10-star skill both bring the heat, but again, he's not the king when it comes to one-on-one boss fights. Plus, if you don't have Dragon of Frost by your side, his damage potential isn't as impressive as it could be. Together though, these dragons create some seriously spicy combos. Dragon of Frost is the chill master in this fiery trio. His ultimate skill freezes enemies solid for 6 seconds. Talk about putting the freeze on your opponents. He also deals great area of effects damage, and with his 10-star skill, he's a total crowd control menace. Like the others, his single target damage isn't top tier compared to some other super special rare heroes, but his crowd control and synergy with the Dragons of Fire and Venom make him indispensable. Then there's the Queen of Egypt, bringing that classic vibe of petrification and slow effects that can really mess with the enemy's game plan. She's a solid crowd control hero, capable of petrifying enemies to stall them while dealing decent area damage. Plus, her 10-star skill slows down enemies for a good stretch, making her a real pain to deal with. The catch here is that her single target damage is on the weaker side, and there are some other crowd control heroes who might edge her out if you're aiming for pure efficiency. So, when you're building your dream team in Athena Blood Twins, these heroes are like your secret weapons, each bringing something unique to the table. Whether you want raw damage, control, or a bit of both, the combination of devils, dragons, and a queen has got you covered. Just remember, the key to winning late game boss battles might mean mixing in some other big hitters, but for smashing through waves of enemies and controlling the battlefield, these heroes are your best friends. Now go forth and dominate. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Dracula, Hattori Hanzo, Elizabeth, Merlin, Siegfried, Magic Lamp, and Queen Sheba. Alright, if you're hunting for the absolute cream of the crop in Athena, Blood Twins, you've come to the right place. Let's break down the S tier heroes who basically make your squad feel like they're carrying the whole universe on their backs, and doing it with style. First up, Dracula. This guy isn't just your average support or damage dealer, he's the best hybrid support and damage per second hero in the game. When you hit 10 stars on Dracula, you unlock a lifesteal active that's so overpowered it basically turns him into a vampire on steroids, draining health left and right. Plus, his ultimate boosts your whole team's critical hit rate and attack. Talk about a game changer. The downside? Good luck actually getting him. He's ridiculously rare, like finding a 4-leaf clover in a desert rare. Next, say hello to Hattori Hanzo, the undisputed king of boss damage. If there's a big bad guy standing in your way, Hanzo is the hero you want smashing their face in. At 10 stars, he gets an absurdly powerful boss nuke attack that melts bosses faster than ice cream in the sun. And if you manage to star him up to 15, his ultimate even gives him a self-heal. Perfect for those long, grueling fights. The catch? Yeah, he's also insanely hard to pull, so patience and persistence are key. On the support front, Elizabeth quietly holds her ground. She's not the flashiest DPS, but once you get her to 10 stars, her bleed attack is nasty, and she's great at applying debuffs on enemies while healing and buffing your team. She's like that reliable friend who might not steal the spotlight but always has your back when the chips are down. Just don't expect her to be your main damage dealer before you star her up. Then we have Merlin, the quintessential healer and support. This lady is all about keeping your squad alive and kicking with her heals and control immunity. Get her to 10 stars, and she unlocks another healing skill that basically makes your team feel like they're wrapped in a bubble of invincibility. The trade-off? Don't count on Merlin to drop heavy damage. Her job is strictly saving your skin. If you want a hero who can do a bit of everything, damage, crowd control, and support, Siegfried is your go-to. His ultimate shatters enemy shields and stuns them, which is invaluable in certain battles. Plus, once he hits 10 stars, enemies take 25% more damage when he's around. But here's the thing, if you're facing foes without shields, Siegfried's usefulness dips a bit. And honestly, there are DPS heroes out there who might outshine him in raw damage. Now, onto the tank department. Enter Magic Lamp. He's your walking, talking damage sponge with one of the best tank skills in the game. His 10-star ability drops a 40% damage reduction buff on your team, while his ultimate shields allies and even reflects damage back to attackers. Sure, his damage isn't mind-blowing compared to other super rare characters, and sometimes you might not even need a tank in your squad depending on the mode, but when you do, Magic Lamp is your guy. Finally, let's not forget Queen Sheba, the ultimate support and crowd control powerhouse. Her ultimate slaps enemies with a 100% reduced healing effect, which basically says, nope, you're not getting any heals today. Plus, at 10 stars, she makes enemies take 25% more damage, stacking on the pain. She's got a surprising amount of damage herself for a support hero, but heads up, if you're up against enemies that don't heal, she can feel a bit redundant. So there you have it. The S-tier heroes who turn Athena. Blood Twins from a grind into a glorious steamroll. Whether you want raw power, unbreakable support, or tanks who soak up punishment like pros, these heroes are your secret weapons. Just remember, getting them is a whole other quest. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.